So we know that the liquids and gases are fluids, right? Otherwise, we can say air and say the liquids are fluids. And we have seen various definitions before. And the application of the aerodynamics is not only in the aircraft, but also it has a wide range of application in many engineering fields, right? That we had a discussion in the last class. Now, okay, we will have a small review on that. Okay. So I acknowledge John D. Anderson's fundamentals of aerodynamics because we will be following Anderson in almost all the chapters, maybe except a few, right? Right. So in the last class, we had this discussion. Airplanes are by no means the only application of aerodynamics, right? But also we have weather prediction, storm prediction, windmills, the thrust produced by the jet engines, rocket engines, the movement of air through the buildings, water heaters, building heaters, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, and so on. So its application is really wide, and over a period of time, initially it was only experimental aerodynamics. Initially it was theoretical aerodynamics. Then it became experimental aerodynamics. Now it became computational aerodynamics, right? So like that, it expands its domain, right? So we start with the fluid mechanics. The definition is the fluid mechanics of the science that deals with the behavior of fluids at rest or in motion, and the interaction of fluids with solids and other fluids at the boundary, right? Then there is a wide variety of fluid flow problems which is encountered in practice, and it is better to classify them, right? If we classify them, then we can understand the various features, and hence we do that. And I hope you remember in the last class we were discussing about why we need to study aerodynamics, because we need to calculate two things when there is a flow over a body. One is the shear stress which acts on the body, and another one is the pressure force. So we will be discussing all these in the aerodynamics, right? Then this is the classification of the fluids. So to start with, the fluid may be a viscous fluid or inviscous fluid flow. Then say viscous and inviscous fluid flow we will come across. Say when you have an when the airplane is flying, say if you want to see the effect of the airplane only lies in this particular fluid domain, not all. And hence we can say that, on the surface we have a viscous effect, but beyond that surface we may not have a viscous effect, right? So you know the viscosity, right? What is viscosity? Somebody can answer? Anyone? What is viscosity?
It's the resistance of flow. Resistance to flow.
Resistance to flow, right? The resistance offered by the one layer of fluid to the another layer of fluid is called viscosity. And usually you have a tau is a shear stress which is proportional to mu into du by dy, where mu is the viscous coefficient. You might have studied that in fluid dynamics before, right? So any fluid we can consider whether it is a viscous or inviscous. Inviscous is almost an ideal condition. However, the nature of viscosity in certain theoretical calculation, we assume that it is inviscous fluid for our convenience. Then it can be an internal flow or external flow, right? Now there is a flow over an airplane. It is an external flow, right? The flow inside the jet engine, that becomes the internal flow, right? Then compressible flow and incompressible flow, right? Whenever we talk about compressible flow and incompressible flow, the density rho comes into picture, right? So when you can have the change in density, then it is compressible. And if the density doesn't change, then we can say that it is an incompressible flow. Then next one is laminar flow or turbulent flow. So what is laminar flow? Smooth laminas. Turbulent flow and chaotic.
Reynolds deals with Reynolds number.
Also Reynolds number, right? Yeah. But physically, when someone doesn't know about the Reynolds number, in the layman's term, we can explain that as a chaotic flow or a zigzag flow. That is the definition given, right? Nice. So when the Reynolds number, if the Reynolds number is keep on increasing, at higher the Reynolds number, the flow is turbulent. That is also one of the definition. Then natural flow or forced flow. Usually in the wind tunnel, especially in the aerodynamics laboratory, we have a wind tunnel. There we have a forced flow, and in other way you have a natural flow, right? So again, then we come across the steady flow versus unsteady flow. So whenever we consider about the steady, unsteady, then we consider about time. The flow characteristics varies with respect to time, then it is unsteady flow. When it doesn't varies with respect to time, then it is steady flow, right? Then we come across the one-dimensional, two-dimensional, and the three-dimensional flow, right? So let us consider when the flow is in only one direction. The velocity vector also I mentioned here. So when we consider one dimension, then it is one-dimensional flow. If it is two, then two-dimensional flow. If it has an influence on all the three dimensions, then it is three-dimensional. We will have a detailed discussion on that. Now, starting from airplanes and then the wind turbines, ships, many locations, like many applications, we have all these phenomena involved, right? Viscous, inviscous, internal, external, compressible, incompressible, and so on, right? So let us start with the viscous and inviscid region. When two fluid layers move relative to each other, then there is a frictional force develops between them, and that slower the layer tries to slow down the faster layer. That is, one layer resists the another layer, and we can call that as the viscosity. So the internal resistance to the flow is quantified by a fluid property called viscosity, right? So this is a kind of measure of internal stickiness of the fluid, right? So how the viscosity is caused? This is because of the cohesive force between the molecules and liquids and the molecular collisions in gases, right? So you also have an effect, right? You might have studied that the viscosity changes with respect to the temperature also, right? So there is no fluid with zero viscosity, and thus all fluid flows involve viscous effects to some degree. And if we consider inviscous flow, that means it is an ideal case, right? Then, okay, flow with frictional effects, or if the frictional effects are significant, then we can call that as the viscous flow. right? Again, in many flows of practical interest, there are regions where the viscous forces are negligibly small, right? When compared to the inertial force or the pressure force, then um, that particular flow we can call that as inviscous flow. In the starting of the aerodynamics, we will start with the inviscid flow, right? So this is what the inviscid region looks like, right? I mean, inviscid region and the viscous region, right? So this is the flow of an uniform fluid stream over a flat plate, right? We have a flat plate somewhere here, right? And there is a fluid flow. We can see the regions of uh, viscous flow. You see the influence of viscosity occurs only in this region, again in the other side. And after that, if you see, the velocity at this particular location is equal to the free stream velocity. What is free stream velocity? This is the free stream velocity V infinity, right? So it means that the fluid sticks to the plate. Say, for example, on the surface of the plate, if you take the velocity, then the velocity V infinity becomes 0 on the surface, right? Anyway, this has a very strong impact on our aerodynamics and in the airplanes, right? We will see, and we call that as a skin friction drag. Then internal flow versus the external flow, right? So where it flows, for example, when it flows inside a pipe or over a pipe, right? I can say in that way. Say, for example, the fluid flow over the airplane, it is external flow. The fluid flow over a car surface is an external flow. But if you want to study about the comfortability of the passenger inside the train, is an internal flow. Comfortability of the passengers inside the airplane, then it is an internal flow. Flow inside the pipe, that is inside the internal flow, right? So the definition is the flow of an unbounded fluid over the surface is called external flow. The flow in a pipe or a duct is an internal flow if the fluid is completely bounded by the solid surface, right? So some examples are given. So now there is like somebody can say that some examples of an external flow. Anyone? Example for an external flow. I recommend somebody can answer. Otherwise, I may call someone to answer. Right?
Sir, flow of an air over an airfoil.
Flow of air over an airfoil. Yeah, that's okay. Correct. Then Abhishek. Abhishek. Abhishek, are you there? Aruna Priyadarshini.
Sir, flow
Yes.
over a car is external flow, sir.
Yeah, okay. Flow over the car. Okay, nice. How about an internal flow? Mugil, can you say one example for an internal flow?
Sir, air inside a turbofan engine.
Yeah, turbofan engine. Nice. Good. What about Rohit? Rohin.
Flow in petard tubes.
Okay, Rohit, yeah, you can say.
Yeah, flow inside a petard tube.
Pitot tube. Wow. Very nice. That is an internal flow, right? Because it is a solid bound. Okay, good. So let us move to the next point. Right. So internal, external flow, you can have you can read, right? Now it comes the compressible and incompressible flow. So a fluid flow can be classified as compressible or incompressible flow based on the variation of density, right? The variation of density during the fluid flow. Okay. Then we can say that incompressibility is an approximation, and a fluid flow is said to be incompressible if the density is nearly constant, right? So that is, the volume of every portion of the fluid remains unchanged over the course of its motion, right? So if we say that, then it is incompressible. But in general, we have a very strong point that air is compressible and liquid is not compressible, but it is not so. At a certain pressure, say a pressure of 210 atmospheric pressure, that causes the density of the liquid, right, to it changes its density to 1%, right? So, but in the case of air, it is not so. When the air is moving, even at 100 meter per second, you can experience the change in density. So if the fluid flow, if the airplane is flying more than 100 meter per second, or if the wind turbine which is rotating, if the tip speed is more than 100 meter per second, then we consider that as a compressible flow, right? Then, of course, the gases are highly compressible, right? Then it is, in general, we measure the speed of aircraft or any vehicle, flying vehicle, we consider in terms of Mach number. You might have already studied about the Mach number. The definition is the speed of the fluid flow to the speed of the sound. The speed of the vehicle to the speed of the sound, right? We can consider in that way also, because the fluid flow is relative to the vehicle, right? So usually we define this in this way: V by C or A by C, whatever it is. So C is the speed of sound, and most of the time we have a question: why we need to relate it to the sound? Why Mach number or the airplane velocity, we need to make it to the speed of sound? What is the reason for that? Why it is not the speed of any other thing? Okay, why it is not compared with the speed of light? Why it is in the speed of sound? Anybody can answer? You might have studied somewhere in the, somebody who have read the Introduction to Flight by John D. Anderson can answer this question. Why in Mach number we consider the reference as speed of sound? Anyone? Anyone, come on. And one more thing, please feel free. In the aerodynamics class, you are allowed to say wrong answers. Okay? You are allowed to say wrong answers. You can say wrong answer. Don't hesitate. Just to speak. Okay? Yeah. So please, why we need to consider speed of sound in the Mach number? Wait, no one. Charan Tej, can you please try? Your imagination. right? Initially, whatever we study is based on our imagination, right? So it doesn't matter, even if you say a wrong answer. Charantej, no answer. If you have no answer you can say. Charantej, if you don't say anything, I assume that you have just logged in and you have left for something else. Charantej. Okay, so it means that Charantej is not there. Oh, it is there. Okay, he say no answer. What about Danisha?
Maybe it's because the speed of sound depends on the air molecules, so we can find out the local velocity at that point.
Okay, good. So it is a good try. The comparison, say your imagination is like the sound also travels in the air with the air molecular collision and all those things, right? Okay, then how about Janani?
So speed of an object always approaches the speed of the sound.
What is that?
Speed of any object always try to approach the speed of sound.
Any object travels with the speed of sound.
Approaches to travel with the speed of sound.
But more than speed of sound also we have, right? Okay, good. Thank you. How about Karthikeyan? Yes. Feel free. Just to talk. Aparna Mahadevan. Very nice. Speed of sound varies with the temperature. A is equal to root of gamma RT. You have already derived that in introduction to flight probably. Okay, good. Karthikeyan, yes. Why can't we consider speed of light? Yeah, that is what my question is. Navaneet. Okay. Well, now I will discuss. So, say the speed of sound. Okay, before that, we can say that the flow which is called sonic, that is m is equal to 1. That means the velocity of the vehicle is equal to 346 meters per second, probably. Correct? The same as the speed of sound. Then it is called sonic velocity. And if the Mach number is less than 1, then it is called subsonic velocity. If the Mach number is more than 1, then it is supersonic. And if it is very much greater than 1, by rule of thumb, we say that if the Mach number is more than 5, that is called hypersonic. Okay. Now the question comes, why we need to compare that with the speed of sound? Okay. Okay, so let us talk in this way. Usually, the sound is a kind of pressure disturbance. Right? Okay, now imagine whenever I speak, right? If you are in the classroom, when I speak, it reaches you is because of the pressure disturbance, right? So what it creates is it's transmitting in the air in such a way that it disturbs, right? It disturbs the air molecules, and then such a pressure disturbance it propagates and it reaches you. Now again, assume that there is I used to say this classic example in the class. Whenever you see there is a big volume of bus, right? Assume that there is a bus and the bus moves. Now, when the bus moves at some velocity, what happens to the air in front of the bus? It displaces, right? It displaces and it tries to move to the another location. Where it moves, right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine how the bus moves? Assume that there is a bus, okay, and the bus moves in this direction, of course. When the bus moves, the air which is here, right, it tries to move to the place where the bus displaces, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
Then now the point here is the pressure disturbances here travels like the sound propagates or the pressure disturbance propagates. So when a vehicle moves, the pressure from here, the air from here moves to here in the velocity of sound, the velocity of pressure disturbance. The pressure disturbance travels with the velocity of sound, and hence we consider speed of sound as a reference. Right? Is it okay?
Sir, even
Okay,
if the
sir.
bus is moving at slow speeds, the pressure disturbance will travel at speed of sound. Am I right, sir?
Correct. That is the point. Even irrespective of the speed of the bus, but the pressure disturbance created moves with the velocity of sound. That is the point.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right? So now whenever there is a air displaced, it moves with the pressure difference velocity, pressure disturbance velocity. Pressure disturbance velocity is in turn the velocity of sound. So the wonderful point is speed of sound is not really speed of sound, it is really a speed of the pressure disturbance. Right? So if it is really, if you want to speak, the Mach number is the ratio between the speed of the vehicle to the speed of the pressure disturbance. So something is related, hence we consider the speed of sound. Okay? If you understand, please type yes. If not, type no. If there is more no's, we can revisit it again. Okay, that's fine, enough. We will keep on telling this story again and again to make sure that aerodynamics goes inside, right? Nice. So that is the definition, right? Speed of any vehicle to the speed of sound is called Mach number. Then let us work on the compressible and incompressible flow, right? We have a discussion, like, we had a discussion that liquids are incompressible to the high level of accuracy, right? But still there is a level of variation in density in the gas flows. Gas are often be approximated as incompressible if the density is under 5%, right? So if the density change is under 5% variation, we can call that as incompressible flow. That's what I said, Mach number less than 0.3, right? Which is corresponding to 100 meter per second. When you have a 100 meter per second velocity, then till 100 meter per second, we can say that the flow is incompressible. Other than that, we can say it is compressible. We have a wind tunnel in our laboratory, low speed subsonic wind tunnel, which is having a maximum of 60 meter per second flow. that is an incompressible flow, and we have another wind tunnel with a Mach number 3.5 we can create. That means 3.5 is like 3.5 times the speed of sound we can create, right? So what is 3.5 into 340 meter per second, right? So it is almost 1200 meter per second we can create, right? So we have many wind tunnels. Out of that, one I can say that it is low speed subsonic or incompressible flow. The another one we have compressible flow, right? Then okay, so there is always a small density changes in the flow because of the behavior of the flow or the surface and so on, right? And water hammer, these and all you might have studied before, right? So now let us talk about the laminar flow and turbulent flow, right? Some flows are smooth and orderly, while the other flows are chaotic, right? So the chaotic, that means it is a turbulent flow, and if something is smooth and orderly, we can say that it is laminar flow, right? The highly ordered fluid motion characterized by the smooth layer, then it is called a laminar flow, right? So it is almost like a laminates. We can call that as the laminar flow. And in turn, at low velocity or correspondingly low Reynolds number, we can call the flow as laminar flow. And if the velocity is increasing, then we can call the flow as turbulent flow, right? And the turbulent flow, the definition can be the highly disordered fluid motion that typically occurs at very high velocity, and it is characterized by the velocity fluctuations is called turbulent flow, right? Say if we say that this is a turbulent flow, then I draw a graph. This is with respect to time, and this is the velocity v. And if you see, you will have the change in velocity is always fluctuating with respect to time. But in the case of laminar flow, if you see with respect to time, you will be having almost similar, right? So this is the difference between the laminar flow and the turbulent flow. So these are all the information, and this is very nicely demonstrated by Osborne Reynolds, right? So there is a laminar flow, turbulent flow, and the point at which the laminar flow changes to the turbulent flow is called the transitional flow, right? And the internal flow, the Reynolds number is different for laminar, turbulent, and again in the external flow it is different, and it varies with respect to the fluid, whether it is a liquid or air. So this is a natural or forced flow, right? So a fluid flow is said to be natural or forced depending on how the fluid motion is initiated, right? So as I told, in a forced flow, in our wind tunnel, we have a forced flow. Why we have a forced flow? Because we want to create the flow in such a way that the required velocity is a time. For example, if I want to do an experiment for 50 meter per second velocity, so I should create the 50 meter per second velocity, right? So then in natural flows, it is not due to any external force, but it is because of the natural means such as buoyancy effect or in the last class we discussed about the cyclones or typhoons, it is because of the pressure differences, right? If there is a pressure differences created naturally, the flow will happen nicely. So this is one example of a picture. It is a Sclerion image. In our laboratory also we can create a Sclerion image for the shock waves formed in the supersonic flow, right? So this is the one image of a girl in the swimming suit. The rise of lighter warm air adjacent to her body indicates that the humans and warm-blooded animals are surrounded by thermal plumes, right, of rising warm air. So this Sclerion image very nicely captures the fluid flow. Say even you can see the shock wave which is not visible to the naked eye, right? Then comes the steady flow or unsteady flow. What is steady flow? Steady, whenever we say steady, we should talk about the term time, right? We have time, right? This is time. Steady means it is the any parameter which is constant with respect to time. Unsteady, it varies with respect to time. Now, I will ask you a question. How about turbulent flow? Whether turbulent flow is a steady flow or unsteady flow?
Unsteady, sir.
Unsteady flow, nice. So turbulent flow is unsteady flow. How about laminar flow? Laminar flow.
Steady flow, sir.
Steady flow. We can consider laminar flow as a steady flow, right? Say it is almost like when there is a fluid flow. Say for example, what about the flow under a fan in your home? You have a steady flow or unsteady flow?
Sir, I think it depends on the speed of the fan, sir.
Okay, speed of no. I recommend you to keep one A4 sheet of paper under the fan. Okay, so if the sheet has fluctuation with respect to time, then it is unsteady flow. If not, it is steady flow, right? In the other way, we can say that whenever there is a fluid, say for example, what about from the air conditioning vent? Is the flow is steady flow or unsteady flow?
With respect to certain distance is steady and after the distance.
Correct. So that is also a possibility, right? So initially it may be a steady flow and with respect to time it may become an unsteady flow. What about laminar flow? Initially it may be laminar and later it can become turbulent.
Yes, sir.
That is also right, a possibility. Again, when you just you can see all those things visually. Of course, we do some experiments in the wind tunnel. Once you come back, right? Probably in the May, right? So whenever we talk about steady flow and unsteady flow, you should always remember this information, right? So again, periodic flow, aperiodic flow, that was another point, but steady flow and unsteady flow is actually the definition, I mean, with respect to time, right? So again, there are various devices considered. Say, for example, turbines, compressors, boilers, condensers, heat exchange operate for long period of time under the same condition, right? Long period of time with the same condition can be considered as steady flow device. But there are in local, if the blades are rotating and if the flow has a different flow, then that working under the unsteady condition, right? Like that we can classify. Okay, so finally the point is very clear. If the flow parameters changes with respect to time, then we can call that as unsteady flow. If not, it is a steady flow. Right? So you can see this is a time averaged flow, and this is an instantaneous image. You remember I told you something called there is a time, and then there is a fluctuation in the velocity or any other parameter. If I average this, then it becomes smooth. When I don't average this, it has a fluctuation. That is what is visible here. Right? Okay. Anyway, so if an engineer is interested in the details about the unsteady flow field, such as flow-induced vibration, unsteady pressure fluctuation, or sound waves emitted from the turbulent eddies, shock waves, right? There is a representation for the time averaged description of the fluid flow, right? But in most of the cases, these time averaged description is not sufficient, right? Say why it is not sufficient. I told about this example, the classical example, a bus, and the bus is traveling at some kilometer per hour, and you have a flow, the fluid flow, right? And you have a wake region here, right? Now, this is called a wake region. I mentioned this as wake. It is a highly unsteady turbulent flow. Now, is it possible to represent this flow in an average way? If I take an average value of velocity, it cannot represent the real physical phenomena. Right? Real physical phenomena it cannot represent. And hence, we need to describe that as the velocity with respect to time. Okay? So that's all about the steady and unsteady flow. Now, we need to discuss about one-dimensional flow, two-dimensional flow, and the three-dimensional flow, right? So it is all about the characterizing a particular flow, right? Say in a typical flow which involves three-dimensional geometry, the velocity may vary in three directions, right? So that's what I said. It is x velocity, y velocity, and z, right? This is u. U is a velocity component in x direction. V is the velocity component in y direction. W is the velocity component in z direction, right? But in certain cases, we can consider as a two-dimensional flow. Say, for example, in this case, the consideration is, see, here the velocity, the variation in velocity with respect to r and z. If it is r and z, and again here it is only with r, right? So similarly, here when you consider this flow over a car, if you say at the center of this car, you can see only this component. Now, when you have this component, you can consider this as u, but here definitely you should consider the v, right? If there is a flow only in this way, then it is x. This can be one-dimensional flow, and the dominant velocity is only u. Now, what about the velocity like this? This can be solved in x direction and y direction, and hence this involves a two-dimensional flow. And think about some flow even, this wake region. You have a lot of wake region, that is definitely a three-dimensional flow. The flow in x, y, and z direction, that means that the u velocity, v velocity, and w velocity is sufficient enough to discuss and it is significant, then it is a three-dimensional flow. Right? So I think these are all the basic classification for any fluid. Right? Thank you. And if you have any question,